Hey y'all, welcome to the first ever episode of Shrink Ya Nuts. This is your host, Jace Laska. In this week's episode, I sat down with Blacksburg native and local business owner, Katherine Rogue, or Ferguson, depending on what you might know her by. We sat down and discussed how she got into stand-up comedy and started producing shows around the area, how she started her massage therapy business, and just stuff about her life in general and about the town. It's a very cool episode, very fun conversation, a lot of really good insight about what it's like to be here in Blacksburg, Virginia. And just a little heads up, forewarning, we did record this in Catherine's living room with the sliding glass door open, so you can hear birds chirping and squirrels messing around in the background. And I am learning a new editing software, so be patient with me. It'll get better as it goes on, but I hope you guys enjoy, and thank you for listening. Welcome to Shrink Ya Nuts. Hey y'all, welcome to the first ever episode of Shrink Your Nuts. My name is Jace Laska, and I'm your host. And today I'm joined with a very unique figure in my life. This person, they can make you laugh, they can fix your back, and they can do stoichiometry all in one afternoon. Please welcome to the podcast, Katherine.
Hi, everybody.
So do you want to go ahead and just give a little bit of an intro about yourself, what you do, how you got here?
Well, it all started in 1979. I was born to people in Virginia, and I haven't left Virginia very much since, as far as living. I am currently a mother of adult children. I am a massage therapist, and I own my own studio here in Blacksburg. And I am a producer and comedian, runs a pretty successful show here in Blacksburg at McLean's currently, and travel to do comedy all across Virginia and Tennessee. And I like to go birding in my free time, which I don't have much of.
Nice. And then you want to go ahead and mention the just the slight flex, chemical engineering degree, just collecting dust.
I do have a chemical engineering degree. I'm proudly displaying my diploma in the treatment room at the massage studio now. It was nice to finally hang it up somewhere. I briefly worked as a chemical engineer after graduation, but since I was pregnant with my second child at that time, I decided to take maternity leave and then never went back.
Never went back.
I have worked in science fields since then. I worked at the poop lab dealing with intestinal diseases, and I also worked at Virginia Tech in the soil physical and chemistry lab, testing soils for their chemical properties.
Okay, well, I think you just answered my first question that I had for you. I was going to ask, what is the weirdest job you've had? And is it safe to say that it is, in fact, working in a poop lab?
I mean, I guess that was weird. It was pretty cool. We did have vials of poop, and the super smelly ones had sad faces on the top of them. So,
Was it human poop?
human poop. Yeah, we tested for Cryptosporidium, Giardia. The main one that I worked on was C. difficile, which wipes people out in the hospitals. If you clear cut your gut flora, C. difficile takes over. It's kind of like an invasive species in your gut, and it makes you very sick. And so what I did at that job was make inoculum for animals. So I'd make pretty much like a vaccine, send it off to goats, rabbits, and chickens, get them injected with it, and then get vials of their serum back. And then we would test it for different toxins. We would use those toxins, purify them to make the tests. The tests pretty much look like pregnancy tests, but instead of peeing on the stick, you poop on the stick.
Wow, I don't even know what to say to that. That's remarkable. I don't know, science has come so far.
We all got paid $20 to poop in a bag. We needed healthy fecals samples, so.
But what if it wasn't? Like, you have to like get the $20?
You would know if you had Giardia.
Okay.
Like, you would know. You would be, your butthole integrity radius would be very small.
All right, off to a hot start with Shrinking Nuts. Oh God. So Catherine, as someone that has like a very diverse outward persona at this point in your life, between having your own massage business, being a producer of comedy shows, and of course just being a major figure here in Blacksburg, Virginia, what is something that people often assume about you that's just blatantly wrong?
Um, Probably that I'm an extrovert. As I've gotten older in my life, I've realized that I'm very much an introvert. And as much as I love being around people and gathering people together, I really like to gather the people together and then listen to the crowd talk. And I really, really, really need to be left alone and have my own space that nobody bothers to be able to recharge and then do all this stuff again.
Yeah, I feel you. That's a good point. Yeah, having everything be like very, I mean, all of your jobs revolve around being around other people and communicating constantly, and then I don't know. I feel like most of your work between stand up, you're essentially giving a presentation, you're giving someone a massage, and you either talk or don't talk depending on the person for at least an hour straight. That's got to be
Yeah.
draining. You're essentially a therapist. Well, I mean, I guess massage therapist, but mental
Yeah, I
as
try
well.
my best to listen to my clients when they're getting massage. I want them to feel comfortable and heard. The best way to get someone's body to relax is to get their mind to relax. So I do work on both at the same time. It can be exhausting. You asked me before we started if I listen to podcasts, and often I find myself sitting in silence here in the house and not listening to anything at all and not engaging with any type of people. I really enjoy looking at stuff and watching things. It calms me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I hear you on that. Very interesting. Going off of the massage thread, do you have an embarrassing story related to giving a massage that you can share on here?
Uh, well, I mean, not too long ago, I got some new scrub pants, and as I was quietly sitting down on my leather stool to quietly, gently finish the massage with a nice face massage, I sat down on the stool and slid off the back and hit the floor real hard. My client, in his dazed stupor, said, "Did you just fall off the stool?" And yeah, I fucking did. Excuse my language, but
No, you're all good.
I really try to not squeak the floor or step too hard, and then I'm sliding off the dang stool. No, yeah, that's about it. Everything else is on the client side, and I'm not going to talk about that.
Okay, no, that's completely understandable. You briefly mentioned earlier that you did in fact work as a chemical engineer following your graduation, but what was the motivation that took you from going and working in that like stable type environment to wanting to branch out and become a massage therapist and eventually open up your own practice?
So I went to Virginia Tech and worked as a co-op engineer while I was there in school in DuPont in Richmond. And during one of those semesters, my boyfriend and I found out that I was pregnant and decided to keep that baby. So in spring break of junior year, I had a baby.
Junior year. Wow.
Yeah.
Were you 21 at that point?
I had just turned 22. Like I was 2 weeks
Okay.
past 22.
Damn.
Yeah.
Girl boss.
Girl boss. And I naively thought I could just take spring break off to have the baby. Luckily, somebody had convinced me to take the whole semester off.
Yeah, that's
That's a
insane.
good move. Don't take 1 week off if you have a baby. Take as much as possible, which I learned later. But so I had Elizabeth. She was a great little baby. She even came to a biochemistry class with me. Shout out to Dr. Ebel for letting her sit and pretend to take notes. That was very cute.
Dr. Evil?
Dr. Ebel.
Okay.
Yeah. Ebel. He's still around. He's a cool dude. And then I didn't want to have an only child. So at that time, my husband and I decided to go ahead and try for another. And I was due in June after I graduated. So I graduated. I got a great job at Merck making vaccines. I was working on the Gardasil project. And it was really hard because I moved up there I had my toddler. I was pregnant. It was a new job, new career, new town. And my husband stayed behind here in Blacksburg to finish his job. And he'd get a bonus if he stayed a little bit longer. And it sucked. It was horrible. And I kind of broke down and tried to quit my job. And my boss encouraged me to take maternity leave. So at Merck at the time, they offered 18 months maternity leave. So zing, zing, I went back to Blacksburg and had my baby. And about 6 to 12 months later, they called and asked if I was coming back. And I said, no, I think I'm going to be sitting on my porch with my baby. And I really started to dedicate myself to motherhood, stayed at home for many years, got the poop job, but that was part-time, so I could still be around my kids. I really, at that time, shifted to mother. I did work, but I did that where it fit so that I could be home when the kids were home, take them to all their activities and really learn how to cook. And I mean, I was a kid when I had my kids. So learning how to cook, learning how to take care of the house, all that homemaker stuff kind of took over. And then in the meantime, this woman, Jen Speeden, offered free belly dance classes right after Maggie was born. And they are tribal style belly dance. So it's like women getting together to dance with other women. It was great. And Jen turns out to be a physical therapist. So she would be describing how to do these belly dance moves, but also telling us which muscles we were engaging to do it. So I started learning all this anatomy stuff from her, and she would warm us up and cool us down with yoga. And so I was learning anatomy. I was learning yoga. I was learning how to soothe the body. So all this stuff is happening in parallel. I'm a mother. I'm doing yoga and dance and learning anatomy. I'm continuing my science career in this real slow part-time way. And then I got to a point where I realized I didn't want to keep working at the soils lab anymore. I wanted to try something new. And I explored being a yoga teacher versus being a massage therapist. And I can't stand it when people are doing headstands in the back of a yoga class. And I realized that I wouldn't be able to keep that Zen feel if people weren't following my directions. I didn't think I would be a good yoga instructor. So I went into massage school and then very quickly got a divorce, moved out, did all sorts of stuff, totally changed my life, and became a massage therapist. And at that point, I kind of had to keep doing it because then I needed to support myself. Luckily, the career switch was a good one. I love being a massage therapist. I love making people feel better. I love helping alleviate stress. So I really got lucky in the fact that I made a lot of changes in my life and got them to, they were all good changes that got me to a place where I'm really satisfied and happy with a lot of aspects of my life.
Yeah, no, that's a hell of a journey. And the fact that you've made it all work out is truly remarkable. I know
It's not remarkable. Everybody can make changes in their life to get them to where they want to be. Not all the changes will work and you'll fail a bunch, but if you keep trying, you'll get to a place that feels good. So it's some of the leaps were really difficult to take, but if anybody out there ever listens to this, I want them to hear that go ahead and take the leap. Go ahead and try to get to where you want to be. A good friend of mine always had the phrase, leap and the net will appear. And I think that's really true. It's like a trapeze artist, you leap. If you don't take the leap, you can't even find out what amazing things you can do. But the net will appear. People will always show up to support you. Yeah. The support will show up.
No, that's very true. I feel like most of the time what holds people back is themselves and just being worried about being judged or any sort of other insecurity that just kind of takes over and floods the mind. And yeah, no, that's a really, really good point.
Yeah. And remember that all of this took nearly 25 years. That's 25 years of changes and mistakes. And there's tons of mistakes in there. I'm trying to stay positive. There's a lot of things that I did that were really hard or very stupid. But I came out to here at the end of it.
Yeah, made it through the other side.
Yeah.
Here we are sitting in your living room watching the birds come and grab peanuts and, just
Yeah, dude. Like, what's better than that?
literally nothing. I think this is peak life. Not going to find this anywhere else except for wherever else they have birds and squirrels. So keeping on the massage therapist track of your career, your life at this point, you mentioned how fulfilling it is, like mentally, for having or being able to help soothe and alleviate all these other problems for others. What is there anything sort of meditative or therapeutic for you about giving massages?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm having a horrible morning, sometimes I'm just like, just get to work and everything will be okay. One of the things we have to do as massage therapists is really get grounded. And again, I'm not perfect at this. This is something that I'm always working on and trying to get better at. But as soon as I put my hands on somebody else, I'm usually feeling pretty good. Because it's calming to listen to what's going on with people before we start the massage and think about the problem that needs to be solved, which is sometimes it's, oh, I need to work on this muscle and that muscle, and I need to check their elbow to make sure that this is getting better and that kind of stuff, like a scientific kind of mind stuff. And some of it is, oh, this person is super stressed out. I need to send them the most calming energy I can, which is a different kind of massage. And to get into that calm mode, I have to move my hands really slowly and rhythmically and calm. I need to get them into the mood to let go of tension, to trust the table to hold them up, to trust me, to make them feel better. And so I have to get into a certain mindset to induce that kind of feeling. And just by getting there, I've dropped in to complete calm and focus.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I haven't thought about it from that perspective before, but yeah, I can't imagine if you're having like a really stressful day, and then going in and being you yourself being worked up, and then trying to give someone a Zen experience wouldn't exactly work out great.
Yeah, people can tell how you feel. You don't want to go into the massage and be like, I'm all worked up. You're worked up. I'm worked up. We're going to get worked up together. Sometimes that's what happens. And luckily, my clients are forgiving on that, because sometimes we get real worked up about some stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I am not calming this person down. Ooh, and then I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about my latest hike. That's what I'm like, all right, we're going to talk about I saw some trout lilies today. I walked beside a creek. Did you notice that the red buds are blooming? Oh, so pretty. We're going to bring it down. But yeah. Well, and you're not going to ask this question, but that's how I got into comedy.
Well, we can go and switch tracks right there. I had a few more things to go about massage therapy, but if you want to jump around straight to that, then we can go right for it.
Well, yeah, that's a teaser.
It's a teaser.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I had to ask, that I wanted to get inside of your mind on regarding massage therapy, was how do you take care of yourself when pretty much your entire job is taking care of others? It can be physically, mentally, spiritually. What's important to you in your self-care process?
Jace, that is a constant problem for me, and something that I work on and continue to work on all the time. When I am doing a good job of taking care of myself, what that looks like is meditating every day, journaling if I need to, which can just be lists of things, and doing yoga, even if it's just doing the 6 movements of the spine, just a little bit of yoga every day, walking, hanging out with friends, spending time alone. That's one I really struggle to do, spending time alone. And then like really basic physical care. Like I have some medicinal oils that I use on my hands to protect them. I'm really careful about what choices I make to do with my hands on the weekends to let them have a time to rest. I try to keep my body strong, so I'm not depending on my joints. I have strong muscles. But that is something I really struggle with a lot. I tend to overgive to others and not give to myself. And I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with. But I am just one of those people. That's something that I'm always working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel it's a constant process, I guess, to figure out what works for you and seeing like as you're changing and evolving as a person, how that changes and how you have to adapt your routine. And yeah, just having like a certain level of self-awareness is like the most important. But how do you feel that like nature plays a role in that for you?
I mean, some of my best childhood memories are I was an only child and I was a weird kid. Somebody gave me a insect identification book when I turned 5
Really?
for
That's
my
so
birthday,
cool.
like an adult version, it's over there. It's an Audubon, field guide to insects, And so I was, and I lived in the woods as a kid. I lived in town, but we had an acre of woods. So,
Okay, that's cool.
my good times, like the best times I can think of, is wandering around with my little bug box that my dad made me and catching bugs and then sitting down and getting my book out and identifying them and sorting them and keeping track of what I'd seen and what I hadn't and following ants to see what an ant does. I mean, I have no idea how long I was following an ant, but like it might have been like most of the day, you know? So now where I live and stuff, I do a lot of birding. I can do it from my porch. I find that very calming, but I do it super nerdy. Like I have eBird and Merlin and I'm identifying things and keeping track of what I see seasonally. And then I joined because I struggle with saying no and making time for myself. I also added another hobby where I go birding with the NRV Bird Club and have gotten even nerdier about birds in the last year.
That's awesome. I do wish that we had this isn't a video podcast yet, but just from right here where I'm sitting, I can see 2 pairs of binoculars, a flashlight, I think about 6 bird feeders, and double the amount of bags of bird seed. So
Yeah. Right now, I'm on a 3-type feeding system. I do the peanuts, which the titmice and blue jays love, and black sunflower seeds. And I also added mealworms. I have a pair of bluebirds that have moved in. I also have the northern flickers have returned. And I'm really excited this year. It's the first time I've ever seen a pair of pileated woodpeckers. I really hope they hang around. We've got a lot of fallen dead trees from the hurricane and the ice storm. So there's a lot of food out there for the pileated woodpeckers. I'm thinking this might be the year to have a breeding pair of pileated woodpeckers in my own backyard.
That's so
It's very
awesome.
exciting.
Man, always an upside with all the stuff that happens. That's a lot to look forward to. I don't even how are you gonna cope with that? Like
I don't know. I have to set alarms to tell me when to go to work because one of my favorite things to do is to sit at the window and just watch the birds. And if I don't set an alarm, I will not leave to go to work.
That's awesome. I love that. Love that for you. So you're going to take a little bit of a pivot here, and you had briefly mentioned that you had initially gotten into comedy as a kind of a branch off of needing to calm yourself for your job as a massage therapist. But what else was it that really like got you into stand-up specifically?
So I have always been, a person who watches stand up. That's pretty common, I think. And one of the things that I would do, I found a local club that had biweekly shows at the Milk Parlor at the time. It was the Comedy Conglomerate at Virginia Tech. It's the group that does comedy on campus. And I kept going to their shows pre-COVID and then post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I was going with my partner at the time. Post-COVID, I was going alone because I had just gone through a breakup. And I got to know the people going on stage and I got to hear their jokes over and over. And I started to talk to them and comment on their jokes. Like, that was much funnier this week. Or, hey, if you said it this way, maybe it would make more sense. And the president at the time, Izana, said, Katherine, you can just come to our meetings, right? And I thought that was so neat. Yes, I would like to see the behind the scenes of what these people are doing. I wanted to see how they wrote jokes and how they workshopped them and stuff like that. So I went to the meeting really just to see the behind the scenes. And because I am who I am, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. So I was always quipping and interrupting and adding little, what I know now are tags to people's jokes. And then two of the guys who were probably pretty irritated with me said, you can do your own set. Anybody's allowed to go up there. And so I kind of turned and started working on my own stuff. And the side effect of getting ready, so I had 1 week before my first time on stage. And I was like, okay. So I suddenly, instead of thinking about this breakup all the time, going to work and doing these 90-minute massages in silence and like silently weeping over the loss of my relationship, I suddenly had something to think about. I suddenly had to think about the wording of the jokes and how I was going to say it and how I was going to move my body. And I found that it was calming me down, and I was becoming a much better massage therapist because I was thinking of something humorous and funny. And I was thinking about sending good energy out to an audience. And I was thinking about funny things that had happened in my life and seeing how I could figure it out into a joke. And my mind runs all the time. So giving my mind an assignment was very helpful. And I found that I stopped thinking about my breakup and I started thinking about jokes. That's how I got started in comedy.
No, that's really interesting. I feel like I can definitely relate to a lot of that. I am also one of those people that my brain is just constantly going. And, well, I guess I haven't even said that I do stand up. I'll probably put that in the introduction somewhere else. Well, yeah.
That's how we met. That's how we're here.
Yeah.
And you asked me about my life and like all the stuff. This is life. Like, because Izana asked me to come to a meeting, we are now sitting in my living room doing a podcast. Like, if you say yes to people that give good vibes and you say yes to things that bring you joy and do good in the world, eventually you get brought into more opportunities to meet people that are really cool, and you get opportunities to do stuff that is good in your definition of what good is.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot to add to that, and I completely agree. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know me or Katherine, I came into the aforementioned comedy conglomerate about a year and a half ago at this point, freshman in college. Wasn't really fitting in that well, hadn't really found my group, and then just decided, like, I just found some flyer, decided to go to a meeting, and just became kind of obsessed with it. And it really did help me with my brain as well, just constantly working. One of the first 2 weeks I was in the club, had not gone through a breakup yet, and was just writing jokes about everything else that had gone on in my life, I guess. And then found myself in a breakup after, like, it was 3 days after I did my first show. So immediately having that as like an escape, it's always I feel like stand-up is often referred to as like the white man's therapy, but it really is just an outlet, like a creative outlet that I personally growing up did not have one, because I felt like I couldn't sing, dance, like I didn't know how to like really draw or color or anything along that lines. So all like the conventional creative outlets that I felt were always like kind of programmed into little kids to pick one and be good at, I didn't really fit into. But finding this was really like a great outlet for me, and kind of served a similar purpose at the time of when I started it. And then now it's just kind of become such a second nature of my life. And as far as like keeping my mind occupied, I don't know if you can relate to this. I don't think it's something very unique to me, but it seems like every experience in my life, everything I'm doing is immediately like my brain is just trying to figure out if it's a joke, if it's funny. all of it is absolutely horrible, but I'll like stub my toe, and then in my brain it'll visualize like me on stage like, don't you guys hate it when you stub your toe? Like nothing's
Yeah.
funny, but
Well, you start to
always
it
working.
changes your whole worldview, and you realize that everything's ridiculous, and there's something funny in like literally everything. I mean, you've made jokes about your dad's illness. I've made jokes about being afraid I'm gonna die from surgery. Like, I was actually afraid that I might die from surgery.
From a colonoscopy?
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Michael Jackson died from that profenol stuff. But I don't know how to say that word.
I don't think anybody does. It's made up.
But anyway, like, though, I was like, oh no, what if this is my demise? Like the anxiety, right? The anxiety of like, I could die. Okay, it's anxiety. Other people have probably felt it. Other people have probably felt it and not allowed themselves to really feel it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to observe it. I'm going to write it down. And I'm going to figure out how to make this really funny. And it's funny because it's ridiculous, but it's also funny because other people have felt that way. And it's a way to connect with people. It's a way to process and alchemize your own anxiety. And it's a way to make people laugh. I mean, that's comedy. You're just, everything is ridiculous. Everything is ridiculous.
No, it really is. And I feel like once you kind of have that integrated into your mindset and your worldview, then it really just helps you like point out and embrace the absurdities of life.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's some of my favorite comedy styles, are just like social commentary about.
And it's not that I inherently think that life is ridiculous. I inherently think that everything is going to be awful and I'm going to die in a whole lot of horrible ways. And every choice I've ever made is going to lead me to the most horrible thing ever. So what I'm saying, this is also like, it's not therapy for me, but it is therapy for me. It's a way for me to overcome something. It's a way for me to process stuff. So it's like, so I don't feel like a nihilist. It's so I can enjoy life instead of feeling horrible about everything. So I don't want people to listen to this or think about this and be like, oh, well, she just has such a positive outlook on life. No,
Nope.
I don't. I am constantly practicing having an optimistic outlook on life. This is part of my meditation practice. This is part of my self-care, to think about things and turn them into something funny. I do not initially think that they're funny.
No, I feel like, I don't know if it's one of those things where people are drawn to comedy and are because they have this trait, or they get into the world of stand-up and they develop this trait. But I feel like if you have a conversation with a group of comedians, you will find that they are some of the most cynical, nihilistic, pessimistic people on the planet. So
Yeah.
it really is like a dichotomy, like the people that have that worldview and like that's just kind of like the way that they're hardwired, like their job, what they kind of, you can say their responsibility, if you want to do that, if you want to take it that seriously, is to go and bring joy to this group of strangers. And I think there is something kind of, I don't know if poetic's the right word. I think at the end of the day, you're still just going up on a stage, talking into a microphone, telling stupid jokes, but there's a lot more that goes into it.
So with mindfulness meditation, the whole point of it, it's not to sit and clear your mind. It's to sit and observe stuff coming through and just let it go and become the observer instead of getting wrapped up in the emotion with the thought. Practicing writing comedy is the same action. You watch your life happen, and instead of getting wrapped up in responding to the emotion of it, you take it and you observe it and you think, what is funny about this? The two practices are actually really similar, and I've found the more I meditate, the funnier my jokes are, because I become a better observer, not only of what's going on outside of me, but I become a better observer of what's going on inside of me. And if you can really observe what's happening, you can capture it and use it, and then you'll discover other people are having those experiences too, which is part of the funny. So it is poetic. It is amazing. And then all of this boils down to me getting on stage and sharing with all these other people in public how it feels to have my butthole probed.
Yeah, I love talking to you, Catherine. No matter, I don't think you could go more than 30 minutes with a conversation with Catherine without her bringing up her butthole at least once.
People think butts are funny, and everybody has them.
Very true. Very true.
Humanity. Buttholes bring us together.
Yes. We need to put that on a coffee mug.
See Travis Terry about touching buttholes and how divine it is.
Manifest destiny. Yes. Everybody deserves a butthole in their life.
Go see Travis Terry talk about buttholes.
Are you talking to me or all
All the listeners? I want all of our fans. I'm going to name drop as many people as possible. Ryan Domke, Sage DeLong, Ava the Laugher. I'm just going to name drop as many people as possible.
All those people will have their respective episodes. For
yeah.
people to get to know them.
Tune in to hear more from Taylor Reshka and Ayush Patodia. I mean,
yeah,
the world would be empty if a podcast about Ayush didn't exist. And I'm waiting for the day when I can listen to the podcast with Ayush.
It'll happen. It'll happen soon. Yeah. Hopefully, Lucy's gotta get back to me. I need to get. At this point, like I'm just
herding cats.
Yes. Yeah. I think I need a manager. You know, I need my agent at this point in my career.
Talk to Sage. She'll scream at them and make them be where they're supposed to be.
Awesome.
Or guilt them.
She's very good at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of already answered this question. One of the questions I was going to ask was, has comedy ever helped you process something heavy in your life? Do you want to go back to that? If you want to, I mean, if you have other examples apart from like your breakup getting you into comedy, but I think we've already like kind of touched on that enough.
Well, it's interesting. I one of the big projects I'm trying to work on, and it keeps kind of falling apart, is doing a combination storytelling comedy show. And so I asked for stories about how people got into comedy, and it's really interesting because a lot of people are processing really huge things with their jokes. And yeah, it's wild. Even though comedy helped me with my breakup and it helped me process my divorce and it helped me process some friendship loss, I don't have very many jokes about those. And in fact, I've got one joke about my divorce that I've decided to not stay on stage anymore because it doesn't encapsulate the whole thing. I think the process of joke writing is more helpful for me than actually writing about certain things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like the you sitting down and writing the jokes is more therapeutic than necessarily writing a joke about a specific instance in your life. Yeah.
And comedy writing keeps me in the now a little bit more too. Like it was great once I started dating and I was on the apps and I was meeting the absolute most unhinged, crazy people that live in this area. I suddenly became very interested in participating in life as much as possible so I would have lots to write about. So that's been really helpful too. It just kind of gets me out there to do stuff just so I have something to write about. I highly recommend dating on Tinder to get some hilarious stories.
Some good stories.
You're starting your comedy career.
Nobody's ever done jokes about dating apps in their life.
Listen, everybody has to start with hacky stuff to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, it's a process.
Dating crazy men is...
And women. We are inclusive here.
I try to date women. I don't know if your listeners realize this, but it is super scary to talk to women.
I think my listeners will understand that more than 90% of the population. I think anybody that's attracted to a podcast hosted by me is going to understand that.
Yeah, I'm terrible at talking to women. I'm terrible at picking up their signs. I have only had any success with incredibly aggressive women. Yep.
Cool. The audio recorder is about to die, so I'm going to switch out the batteries real quick. So if you want to...
Yeah, that's also a problem when dating women. You got to switch out the batteries.
All right. We'll be right back. So, Catherine, as someone that has so many different outward portrayals, you have so many brands that you have built yourself into, the brands being you, really. You're the reason that people come back to your massage parlor, that come back to the shows.
It's not a massage parlor. That's a sex den. I would be so much richer if I had a massage parlor. I have a massage studio.
A massage studio.
Yeah.
All right. At the end of the day, you're the reason that people keep coming back. But do you ever feel like there is a split between versions of yourself? Like which one of your, I guess, personas do you feel you're the most when you're alone?
Oh, none of those. I am a really weird kid when I'm alone. Like I said, I'm like looking at birds in a nerdy way, or turning on music and dancing, or one of the things I've caught myself doing recently is singing The Sound of Music, but making it like a tragedy. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but like, have you guys ever watched The Sound of Music all the way through?
It's sad.
Like it's a movie about Nazis, right? So It's been on my mind lately. I know we're not going to get political here, but for reasons untold, it's been on my mind. So I've been trying to work through the title song, but make it really sad. Like like she's mourning the loss of her mountains. Yeah. The hills are alive. It's really sad.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, my mom's a big Sound of Music person. I think I went and saw it on Broadway, watched it growing up. And yeah, I've always kind of derived that message from it, that it's not all frolicking through the tall grass. Like, it's a very sad and somber movie when you get to the root of it.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to make it sadder. That's one of the things I've been working on. I'm really good at taking naps. That's something. So when I was in high school, I interviewed at the Air Force Academy, and one of the little tidbits I picked up there was that as a pilot, you have to be able to take quick, deep 20-minute naps. And I was like, that's impossible. So the rest of my life, I have spent trying to take better naps. One of the things that I'm really good at, when I was in college, I would go to bed early. I liked to study and then sleep, because then I would tell my brain what to think about while sleeping, and I would figure out the problems while I was asleep, wake up, ready, take the exam, good to go. And I still use that skill, and I've gotten better and better at it. I can come home from work, be totally exhausted, and I will look over my comedy notes or take a look at my closet, and I will say, brain, what are we going to wear tonight? And then I will fall asleep, and then my alarm will go off. I will get up, put on the outfit that my brain has decided for me, and hop out the door, good to go for the show. So yeah, I can be home for half an hour and take a 20-minute nap and get ready and be ready to go to the next thing. So that's like a little weird thing. Like, I am doing a costume change some nights.
No, that is, yeah, that, I know you didn't like me using the word remarkable before, but that's like a savant level trait, I feel like.
It's a learned skill. Again, you just have to want to nap really hard, and you can do it too.
The first person that has made napping into a competitive thing.
It's great. I can't do this life if I can't take a nap, because I work usually like from 10 to 6 or 7, and then I have a show usually around like 7 or 8. So I adjust my work schedule, but I really don't have a lot of time between stuff. And then I'll have a day, like next Wednesday is going to run from 8 a.m. I have a friend coming over, and then the show that we're on at night will probably end around 9:30, and then I'll probably drive someone home. So I probably won't get home till about 11:30. So if I don't take naps in there to reset, nobody's going to have fun.
Nobody has fun if Catherine
doesn't get enough sleep.
Amen. We can agree on that. Okay. So is there a version of yourself that you wish like you could be more outward with, that people saw more of, or do you enjoy having the split?
No. Nobody gets to see any more of me. I am so exposed. I have shown so many parts of myself. No, 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 there's no more. No more. Nobody gets any more parts of me. That's
Except
no.
after this podcast, of course.
Boundaries. Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah. I have a new therapist and she's been asking me questions about stuff I do not like to talk about. It's weird. I don't like it. No. I will talk about my butthole. I don't want to talk about my feelings. Sorry to bark at you like a dog, but no.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, that's completely fair. And that is a very linear line of thinking for someone currently sitting on a podcast being interviewed right now. It tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to expose who I am as a person, but ask me more questions.
Yeah. That's the oxymoron of a comedian right there. So, getting into the shrink part of Shrinking Nuts.
All right.
What do you think is your core motivator in life? Do you feel that you're driven by love, fear, trying to earn some external approval? What is it that really makes you tick in life?
Dude, as a woman who is in the beginning stages of perimenopause and menopause, let me tell you that most of my life, I think, was driven by sex. Especially when I was single, I really wanted certain people to think I was so cool. And I wanted to attract people in the audience to think that I was so cool. Not necessarily to actually sleep with them, but as all humans do, I wanted people to think that I was the prettiest, coolest, funniest girl in the room. And now as my sexuality is waning, I'm like, oh, I don't know what motivates me anymore. And I keep having daydreams. This is embarrassing, but it's true. I keep having daydreams of gardening and I really want to get a cat. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening to me? And I'm losing my motivation because I do not care if anybody in the room thinks I'm cool, pretty, or funny anymore. I don't care. You can have your own opinion about anything. And sometimes I really wish I could go home and garden. And That is alarming to me. And my children are engaged. And the first thought I had was, oh boy, grandkids.
You're growing up.
What the heck? So I would say 3 years ago, sex. Now I don't know. I'm in a state of turmoil.
Yeah, you're at a spot where, do you feel like you are at a point where you're having to consciously like kind of redefine yourself, or is this just something that's come naturally just as due to other factors in your life?
So I have a joke that menopause is like reverse puberty. So any day now I'm going to get my virginity back. Like it's true, man. It's just happening. It's just happening. Just like puberty just happened to us. Mm-hmm. You weren't a little girl that I know of, but I was a little girl just having a good old time. Just having a good old time wandering in the woods. Book. And then all of a sudden my body started changing and all sorts of stuff happened. I had no control over, but like, no, it's happening again. It's happening. I am becoming the little girl wandering around in the woods again. I can feel it. I don't know what my motivation was when I was a kid. I don't know, man.
You don't have to know. I mean,
I just hope a cat shows up. I don't want to make a choice. I just want a cat to show up.
Just want it to walk into your life and not leave.
There, you're getting into my insides, whether I want you to or not.
That's what she said. Low-hanging fruit, low-hanging fruit.
What is my motivator? I am heavily motivated by being reliable. I really like reliable people. Mm-hmm. I really have an aversion to people who aren't reliable. And I strive to be a reliable person. And to be reliable is a little bit difficult because of my own way of being. I struggle to remember things. I struggle to be places on time. But I want to be. When I say I'm going to run a show, I try my best to run a really, really good show. Mm-hmm. I want people to pay for the ticket and know that they're getting a good show. So I think being a reliable person right now for me is the biggest motivator for me.
Yeah. No, I really, I feel like I see that a lot in your work. I'm someone that I've gotten a massage from you. I've been to so many of your comedy shows I can't keep track of. And yeah, like the product, you deliver on it consistently, time after time, time and again. And especially in an area that's kind of devoid of a lot of, I guess, external, like just entertainment, I guess, especially in live forms. It's something that is really beneficial for not just me or a handful of people. You really have like built a community here. And yeah, do you want to go into that a little bit? Is that something that you want to, talk
Sure.
about
Yeah.
your pride?
It's been really interesting to be a business owner in this town. I have lived in Blacksburg for a very long time. Like I said, I moved here to go to undergrad, so I lived here as a student. I also lived here as a parent, and now I live here as just a townsfolk person. But this is the first time my business has been open for about a year and a half, and I've been running Comedians Gone Rogue for as a more of like a business for about a year also. Year and a half, 2 years. Um, it has been fascinating. I know you're talking about me building a community, but it's been fascinating to start these endeavors and find how many people in this town are incredibly supportive and helpful. They spread good word about stuff. If you have something, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's just me. I think it's this town. When I started my massage studio, I was shocked about how many people reached out to me to join professional groups. How many people were spreading the word that I'd started something, sharing with their friends that they could come to see me for massage. It's just, there's my alarm. It's it's been fascinating to see what community here existed already, and I found that with comedy too. It is something people want, but as soon as people found out that I was doing stand up, I had Alan Johnson with Lost in Taste talk to me and ask if I would run a show at his place and offer his restaurant Lost in Taste as a stage for us. I had the Beast of Blacksburg ask if we'd run a show there, and that's where we're headed now, is to the open mic that Lee still provides for us every Sunday night, lets us have the stage and talk about what we want, practice our comedy. I haven't built a community. I've discovered a community that was already there, which leads us back to the phrase leap and the net will appear. The net was here, and I'm using that net, and I didn't even know the net was there when I took the leap.
Yeah, that's a beautiful full circle way to bring it up. No, that's a really cool insight. I feel like, I mean, I'm someone that has been introduced to Blacksburg within the past year and a half, 2 years at this point. And I mean, I feel like I've always kind of seen you as a figurehead just due to our proximity, our relationship. But the way that you put that, like, I feel there is like some part of like the southern charm that's like worth noting. But I feel like there is something special about Blacksburg that, made me want to come to school here. And I think is really why I'm scared to leave, I guess, to a certain extent. Like it's a much different
Blacksburg is
vibe
always
than,
here. You can always come back to it, but
Mhm.
I do recommend leaving.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's a neat place. It's a small town. It's built around the college at this point.
Yeah,
But I do encourage people to try out their local businesses, because the people who run businesses here, the businesses that are locally owned, they really do care about the town. They care about the people involved in the town. They care about providing a safe place for the students. And it's just amazing. Like, even if we just look at the Comedians Gone Rogue shows at McLean's, McLean's is sort of a locally owned business. It's definitely run by local folks, The Red Carpet Inn across the street puts up comedians if they want a hotel room. We work with that. Bull and Bones is involved a lot with shows. The Beast of Blacksburg, Lost in Taste. You start looking at who's involved in this stuff, and it's huge. It's amazing. I don't use their insurance, but Brown Insurance in town provides insurance for so many businesses. There's the Vintage Cellar will provide wine for events, and then the Hello Bagel will provide food for it, and everybody's just working together to create. Listen, did you ever read the little town books by Richard Scarry with the worm and the apple?
That is not something that I am familiar with, no.
Oh, that shit's real, man.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just living in a little town, and without all of us doing these, also, all of these business owners are super weird. Okay? Like, as much as I get weird about massage, head on over to Original Frameworks and ask Becca about long-term preservation of documents in the framing industry. Okay? Okay? You ask her if it's okay to frame your diploma with acidic newspaper and watch her get real weird. It's awesome. She loves framing. She cares about people's diplomas lasting forever. She cares about that stuff. Like, and it's so cool to meet all these people who are super weird about their thing, and they're creating like the best that they can with their super weirdness.
Yeah. No, I mean, this isn't something that I don't think that's something that's particularly unique to this part of town or this town in particular. But just everybody always has their thing, and you really just have to have a conversation to get to it. And I think that's like part of why I wanted to start this podcast, was to see what people's thing is and why it's so important to them, and what makes it something that like takes up so much of their life that they can really identify with. And yeah, I think it's really cool. I like getting to know people. I like talking to people and just having conversations. And if people don't want to talk to me, well, now you're going to sit on the podcast and you're going to have to talk into the mic. So.
Yeah. One-on-one conversation. Well, and also as an engineer, I felt like I was a big cog. I was a cog in a giant machine, that the whole purpose of the machine was to extract stuff from the earth and create money for the people who owned the big machine. But being a small business owner in a small town, we're still extracting money for me. I'm the owner of the big machine, but it's really neat to see how we put all these little pieces together, and the outcome isn't I'm making money. It's I'm creating a community and I'm participating in a community. It's totally different feel, and it feels really good. It feels really human. It feels really, it feels really good. It's my whole life is spent making people feel better. So like, I don't have very much guilt about the choices I'm making and how I'm spending my time, because the outcome of what I'm working on right now is making people feel better. When I was a chemical engineer in Richmond, mostly what I was doing was creating chemicals that like gave people cancer. So I think I'd be dealing with a whole other level of guilt if I was still doing that. And no harm on them. You know, it's pretty cool to not have your eggs stick to a pan. But
yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like that brings us to a good point. Do you want to go ahead and shout out upcoming shows, any socials where people can find you, your link tree, your businesses, sorry.
Well, if people want to get a massage, look up Santosha Massage. That's Santosha Massage here in Blacksburg on Ardmore Street. I just discovered that I was not on Apple Maps, so within the next 7 to 10 business days, you'll find me there. But you can Google me like an Android user, and I'm pretty easy to find there. We also have yoga classes. We've got plant energy yoga coming up at the end of the month with Violet Yoga. and we are going to learn about the medicinal properties of violets. You'll get a small gift to take home to get your herbalist needs met. We're going to have a Reiki meditation later in the month. You can go to my Facebook page or ask me personally, and I'll give you the actual dates. I do not have them right now. And then our next comedy show, of course, is in like 15 minutes. We do an open mic at the Beast every Sunday night with Comedians Gone Rogue, and that starts at 8 p.m. $2 beers. Come on out, get drunk, and laugh. And then our next big show at McLean's is May 3rd with Cliff Cash, who's a political comedian. And we're going to kick off that show with the well-loved Roanoke comedian Johnny Camacho. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a treat. He's a treat.
He is. So that's what's going on. And then, of course, Comedy Conglomerate, our sister organization, is having 2 shows in April. And you can go to ComCon VT on Instagram and see when those are. My socials are either Katherine the Neater, that's both with a K, Katherine, .the.neater, Kneader.
Needing some dough?
Yeah, that's on Facebook or Instagram. Or you can find me, Katherine Rogue Comedy on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah, I don't know. Or you can just look for me. I'm nearly 6 feet tall and I have a weird haircut. Like, you just go to Kroger and you'll probably see me.
Just imagine like a punk lesbian haircut on a 6 foot.
Punk lesbian 6 foot tall woman who's afraid to talk to pretty women. That's me.
We have that in common. Lesbian haircuts and scared to talk to women. Hell yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Katherine. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking to me and letting me shrink your nuts. I need to find out how I'm going to close these
I don't have any nuts. I have peanuts for the Blue Jays.
Yep.
You can shrink my Blue Jay peanuts.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me, Katherine. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah.
All
Good
right.
job.
Let's go to the open mic.
Let's do it. Roll Autobots, roll out.